let us get to our first guest of the day. Joining us in studio, this is a great honor, a great privilege to have this man in studio. He's turned into one of the best analysts in the game. There he is, the legend himself, Dean Thomas.
What's up, man? What's
Good
happening?
to see you.
Yeah, man. What's happening? Come on, man.
Hug it out, yeah.
It's been a while.
Thank you.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. You're doing quite well for yourself. I'm looking around. Look at this.
It's not bad. It's not ESPN like you.
Oh, stop. Stop.
How you doing with this weather? Your hands are freezing.
Oh, no. I walked here.
You walked here from where?
From Florida.
Bristol? Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just staying right down the street. So.
Okay.
But yeah, the weather's cool, man. I'm used to the heat, so to get some cold air is good for me.
I appreciate you doing this. I saw you on Saturday in Bristol. Bristol's an interesting spot, right? There's not much to do over there.
I love it.
You do like it?
Yeah, I'm older now. I'm almost 50.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm 48. So like when I go to these places, man, I just want to stay in a room.
Yeah. You stay at the Marriott with the cookie?
Yeah, I get the little cookie. I'm like, yo, and they stingy on the cookie too. I'm like, yo, give me another one.
Nah.
Give me one
they
cookie.
Warm it up
I want another one. Yeah. But no, it's good, man. I'm having a good time, enjoying life. Life is good, man, you know?
Well, I'm very happy to have you in and talk because we haven't had an opportunity to do this, and so much has happened in your life, and you're doing great.
Yeah.
And you've got this movie that you're a part of that's coming out, and back end of this chat, we'll bring in Rory Karpf, the great Rory Karpf, to talk about it, called Grace Point. Here's the trailer right here. You did a tremendous job.
Thank you very much.
So we're going to get into all of that, but I do want to tip my cap to you off the bat because this has been making the rounds, and I was watching it live. Your analysis of the fight on Saturday, the main event on Saturday, brutally honest.
Yeah.
And especially in particular towards Sean Strickland, you essentially saying he's not who he thinks he is, or he's not who he tells us he is, right?
He's exactly who he knows who he is. He's just not telling us that.
Okay.
Right?
What do you mean by that?
And that's what fighters do. Is that as a fighter, your job is to almost kind of conceal who you really are, because in the moments when you fight, you go out there and try to do your thing, but you know who you really are. And I think he couldn't hide from it this time.
That's interesting to me because you always hear people say like, "Oh, in the gym he's crazy."
Yeah.
He brings so what's the difference?
Well, the difference is the spotlight. You know, the lights, man. When them lights hit you, it's the real you shows up. The real you will expose itself when the lights hit you. And that's what's happening to him, is that he's not that guy. And people think that I'm being mean. I'm not being mean. It's just not many people are. I'm not that guy. Not many people are that guy. Duplessis is that guy, but he's not. You know, to go in there and be vulnerable and put your life on the line and go out there and fight really hard for 15 minutes, to just go ahead. And we all do hard stuff in life. But to do it in front of everybody when it's time, I mean, it takes a special person. And he might have been there a few times in his career or whatever, but that's not who he is now. We've seen it his last couple of fights. Like, he's just not willing to go in and be the dog that he told us he was.
Is he a fraud?
He's not a fraud.
Okay.
It's not
because I think when people see that, they'd be like, "Oh man, he's not that guy." Like, so then who is he?
No, because he wants to be, like everybody wants to be.
When he says things like, "I'm going to fight to the death,"
like
and all that.
I think he means it.
Yeah.
Like he means it. Like I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna bust you up. But when you get out there and it's time to do it, and you don't do it, that's not who you are. It's not that you're a fraud. You got to come to terms with it. That, man, that me passed. It happens to every fighter. Like, it happens, like, at some point, in some careers, like, everybody is that guy. Like, if you're a good fighter, at some point you are. But you lose it. And I think he might have just lost it.
So you weren't expecting anything else? You knew who he was going into this fight?
No. And that's why I picked him. So, like,
you picked him to win?
I picked him to win.
Oh, man.
I picked him.
What?
So here's the thing.
You fell for it.
I fell for it.
Yeah.
No, here's the thing, though. So these guys always come at me every time I'm honest about them. Oh, man, you're not him. You fought bad. They come at me. But when I pick them to win, where's that energy?
Yeah.
When I pick you to win and you lose, come back and apologize to me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So why did you think he was going to win?
He took that one fight against Paulo Costa.
Yeah.
He waited. He said, I'm not doing another fight. I beat you the first time. I'm going to come back and beat you again. He said that. That was him.
Yeah.
He said, I'm going to come back. And he waited. He waited for this opportunity. I thought that his motivation would have been different. That he was going to go out there and say, you know what? I'm better than this guy. I'm motivated to come back as the champion. I'm going to go out there and beat this guy. And that's what I thought where his mind was going to be at. But it wasn't there.
What about that thing on his arm?
The staph?
It looked like staph,
that was
right?
definitely staph.
Okay, but when you see that, is that a telltale sign? Like, we always see these guys show up and it's like, no, it's nothing. And then after the fact, they never seem to perform well. It's got to affect you, right?
I mean, I'm sure it does, but at the end of the day, that doesn't affect your effort. That doesn't affect your motivation and your
energy and stuff?
It might, but if you're a dog, you're a dog. Like, you go out there and you go, I know I'm tired, but I deserve better. I'm going to give myself over to this moment and I'm going to perform. And he didn't do that. And so what happens is when you have like any type of distraction, if you're not really there, your motivation ain't really there, you're going to find the excuse. So he can come back and say, well, I had staph. Like all these guys the week before were like, and notice all these guys the week before were like, the paint in the building was bad.
Yeah.
I get it, man, for sure. But when you're completely motivated and you've given yourself over to the game, you don't let those things get in the way. You don't let everybody look at all the chance. I bet you Drekas could have found a reason that he didn't perform. He could have been like, hey man, listen, I got a lot of stuff going on. But champions don't do that. Like when you are motivated, nothing gets in the way.
So in your opinion, was that more about what Drikas did or what Sean didn't do?
Both. A little bit of both. Okay. A little bit of both. Drikas is getting better. We always criticize him and we say he looks bad. He looks a little awkward, but he's getting better. But when you look at his confidence and his demeanor and the way he carries himself, there's no champion in the UFC that's got the total package like him. I mean, this guy just oozes championship in him. Like he walks out, he chests up, he says all the right things. And then when he fights, he delivers. Like he don't even look the best. Like he don't let that hold him back. Like a lot of people like, yeah, I'm not as good as these guys. I'm not as smooth as these guys. He don't let that hold him back. He goes out and he delivers. So I don't want to take anything away from Drikas, but Sean made it a little easier for him.
You think Drikas beats Khamzat?
Yeah, I do.
Really?
I do. I really do. I think Khamzat is a sprinter. I think if you were to make fights 1 5-minute round, Khamzat beats anybody in the world, any weight class. But you can't fight championship level fights for 5 rounds at the pace where he's at his best. If he fights like that at his best, I think Drikas is so durable and he's so smart that he'll be able to withstand that. Now they're swimming in deep water, and Khamzat can't swim that deep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you think? It just goes into the championship rounds and he figures them out?
Yeah. I think that by the 3rd round, Khamzat's like, all right, I don't really know. I can't, this guy's not going away. Wow. And also, too, is if Khamzat does, let's say he does pace himself a little better, Drikas will just pour it on him.
Right.
So I think that pacing is a big factor. We always talk about this cardio thing, but cardio is really just being able to manage whatever pace you have based on the skill set you have. That's really what it comes down to. Like if you have a very limited skill set and you're forced to be in situations that you're not comfortable in, you're going to have bad cardio. But when you have a very well-rounded skill set and you can pace yourself better, you're going to have good cardio. So, I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
You alluded to this earlier. When you're so blunt, you're so honest about these guys, do you get a lot of shit back from them?
Yeah, man, I get some stuff back from them every once in a while.
Do you get a face-to-face? Do they hit you up? How does this happen? Because I'll be honest with you, sometimes, it's different. I totally get it. This isn't a knock, but sometimes, like, the UFC shows come across as a bit like state-run TV where they don't want to be too critical. When you watch a boxing broadcast, there's no ties to the promoters, so the analysts can say whatever they want. But, it's all one big family, so you can't say that fight sucked because it's the promotion that's putting it on, right? But what I love about you is that you
No, I'm pretty honest.
Yeah, I like that.
They've never given me a muzzle. They've never told me what to say and what not to say. Now, obviously, if I'm doing a pre-show, my job isn't to go in there and talk about how bad guys are. Like pre-shows, we're trying to sell a show. But when it's over, man, I'll dog everybody. Like if you fought a bad fight, I'm dogging you. And there's a reason for this. Because I've been in this game so long and I've given so much to this game. I go to gyms to this day. I show up in the city, I go to a gym, and I'll teach for free. I reach out to, I've been in Extreme with Sean Strickland. I give these guys free game. Yo, this is what's working, this is what's not working, this is how you get better. Oh, man, don't worry, I got it. So when I'm on the broadcast and I see you ain't got it, I'm going to talk about you. Because I've been willing to give free game my entire career. So, like, if you if you don't want to take my free game, you're gonna have to take the criticism.
Do they ever come to you face to face, or you get like a message or something?
Sometimes it's like these little smarmy comments like, hey man, why you dog me? Hey man, listen, do better. You know what I'm saying? Like, do better. It's not me. Don't be mad at me if you didn't do good. It's you, because at the end of the day, like, these guys, men and women, they dedicate their lives to the sport. Like, if you are a fighter, your window's like 5 years, you dedicate your life to the sport, you perform once or twice a year, maybe 3, 4 times a year, you have to be on. Like, that's your job. Your job is to be on. And if you're not on, I don't want to hear the excuse, because you're supposed to be ready. That's what we're paying you to do. Like, if not, then like maybe find another job, but we're paying you to do a job. So do the job.
I think you do great on the desk, but also when they use you in between rounds. Eddie Bravo, way back in the day, used to do that.
Yeah. I remember.
In the world of boxing, there was a guy named Harold Letterman.
Oh, I loved Harold Letterman.
Okay, Jim. 29-28. Canelo Alvarez. It was great. And you do a great job, because it's not easy to come in for like 30 seconds there and then throw it back to the broadcast. How did this all start? When did this all start?
Yeah, it's tricky. You're right about that. It's not easy, because, those guys are playing off each other. And
they're flowing.
And I'm just sitting there. And then I cut that. Dean, you got anything? All right, yeah, bring me in. So to be able to get in and just start spitting for like 30 seconds is a little tricky. But it started, Trevor Whitman used to do it, actually.
That's right.
So Trevor did it. So Eddie Bravo did it, and Trevor Whitman did it.
Yes,
and
that's right.
His apparel company took off, and they asked me to do it. But that whole thing started because I was actually riding bikes with the producer, the head guy. And we were in Abu Dhabi, and I was bike riding partners with the head producer at UFC. And
Zach.
No.
Okay.
Above him.
Okay.
Above him.
All right.
And Craig
Borsari.
Yeah, Craig Borsari.
Legend.
And I didn't know who he was. You know what I'm saying?
Come on.
Yeah,
He's been there forever.
Dog. I'm so clueless, man. I go to work, man. I don't talk to nobody. I do my job. You know what I'm saying? I talk fights. And he was like, yo, man, I'm riding bikes. So let's ride. And then we was riding bikes every morning, and in Abu Dhabi during the pandemic. And we just started talking about fights. He's like, man, you're really good at this stuff. You ever think about being on the desk? I said, man, that's not really me. And he's like, yeah, give it a shot. I gave it a shot. Next thing I know, man, I got a job.
Wow. So you were there just as a coach, right?
I was in Abu Dhabi filming Looking for a Fight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so then obviously he can make it happen.
Yeah.
And then they put you in. And so it's probably been like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a couple years. Got a couple deals out of it.
You like it?
Man, I love it, man. I mean, the reality is what we do, man, we like talking fights. I mean, you're much more knowledgeable about other sports. I don't even watch other sports. I just talk fights, man. And they give me a platform to do it. So I couldn't ask for a better gig, man. I don't show up and be friends. I don't got to be friends with nobody. I just go and be able to talk about fights.
Yeah.
What better can I have in my life, man? That's all I've done literally for the last 30 years is talk about fights.
Now, for the longest time, you were at ATT, and you left ATT.
Yeah.
Did you leave ATT because of this?
No.
Why did you leave ATT? You were one of the head coaches there.
Yeah, I was a head coach at ATT, and this was right during the pandemic. And, honestly, I wanted to be able to work with, like, whoever I wanted to. When you're on a team, you're kind of limited to the resources of the team, which we had a lot. Like, ATT obviously is one of the biggest and best teams in the world, but there's other guys I wanted to work with. It's like, I was like, yo, Aljamain is my man. These guys.
People outside of ATT.
Yeah, people outside of ATT.
Okay.
And I wanted to work with just whoever I wanted to work with. I wanted some freedom and some autonomy to do whatever it is that I wanted to do in life. So right during the pandemic, I was getting a weekly salary right during the pandemic. I'm like, you know what, man? I'm going to quit my job.
Wow.
Yeah. And I quit and I left.
And is it because they told you that they didn't want you to work with other people outside of ATT?
No, it wasn't that they didn't tell me not to. I mean, it was just implied.
Okay.
It's implied that this is the team. This is our roster. These are the fights we got. Pick somebody, right? And I'm like, I don't like this guy. I don't like this guy. I don't like that guy.
Wow.
And, it just came down to, like, I just didn't really want to work with a bunch of guys there. So I was like, I want to work with who I want to work with.
Right.
And
how long were you there as a head coach?
So I had been a part of ATT. I was a fighter being on ATT since 2002.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then I had run my own schools and was a fighter. I retired in 2013. And then when ATT did the ATT versus Black Zillions Tough, they brought me on as a coach, and then I was a coach ever since then.
And so now, are you like you? I believe you coach Jillian Robertson.
Yeah, I still coach her.
So is she your only fighter?
I work with her, Sean Brady, and I'm doing a little bit of work with Joe Pfeiffer. And I work a little bit with like Aljamain Sterling. I watch his films and stuff like that.
So she's in Florida.
She's in Florida.
They're in Philly.
Yeah.
So do you come to Philly for their camps?
Always.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Man, Sean hit me up.
Wow.
Sean Brady hit me up. Was like, yo, man, I like your stuff, man. Would you mind coming out? And he knows I got ties in Philly. My family's from Philly. He was like, if you're ever in Philly, man, come by. And I do, and I've been hanging out with them guys for the last couple of years.
What's his ceiling, in your opinion?
He could be champ. In terms of mentality, he's got that Dreekus thing. That so focused, so dedicated, so hungry, and he's also willing to continue to learn. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in MMA today is that guys get to a certain level and they go, well, technique is equal, so let's just get bigger, stronger, and faster. And I always tell them technique is never equal. It's almost saying like knowledge is equal, which is not a thing. And Sean Brady believes that technique is also never equal, and he's continually trying to learn new ways of, and not to take, I mean, he's just a horse, right? He's a stallion, but he's always learning different ways of doing things and trying to increase his knowledge and tactics. He's really smart. So I think if he gets the right opportunities this year, no injuries, he could fight for a belt.
They haven't announced his next fight yet, so you may know. But
I have no idea.
Who would you like to see him fight it? Because I know he's called out Leon, he's called out Kamaru. If it was up to you, who's the appropriate next step? I
mean, they're all tough, and they all present different challenges. Maybe Ian Gary. Ian Gary would be a good one. Usman would be a good one. I just don't know. Not a lot of guys are lining up to fight him.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Are you his head coach?
No. John Marquez is
okay.
Head coach.
And so, so you have those three fighters. Is that cool with you, or would you like to?
No, that's cool with me. In fact, I'm always. Here's my problem, man. Like, I'm so into the game. I'm like, yeah, let me get another one. But at the end of the day, I'm like, I don't want another one.
Why not?
It's a lot of work. It's a lot. The investment in making a fighter good is heavy. You got to put a lot into each person. And I'm so detailed, I'm up always studying fights and looking at different ways to do things. And to give my all to a fighter is a lot.
As far as a fighter that, and this might be a tough question, almost like asking who your favorite child is, but like the one that you're most proud of, that you took them from somewhere and brought them to somewhere else.
Jillian Robertson.
Why is that?
A lot of fighters, even Tyron, Tyron was a stud athlete. I mean, this guy wrestled at Mizzou, played football through high school, stud athlete. Sean Brady, he's a stud athlete. But Jillian Robertson literally comes from a background of just this quiet, shy little girl. And she started my kickboxing program when I had a school, my women's kickboxing program at 15 years old. And she's one fight away from being in the top 10.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
When you saw her initially, did you think that she?
No, not at all. Like, she's never played a sport. And that counts too. I remember talking to Duke Rufus about this. Like, you always look at what somebody's background is. Like, if somebody plays a sport, that's time served in terms of physicality. Like, they know balance. They know, because all positions are the same. Like, balanced positions are the same. Like, shoulders over knee. Like, she didn't know any of that. Like,
that's crazy.
She doesn't come from an athletic background. And most of the women that she's fighting against do. Like, they played sports, or like, she didn't even dance. Like, if you dance, like, to me, that's that's also another way to use your body. But she's never done anything that used her body that would help her in fighting. So the fact that she worked so hard to get to where she is, that means a lot to me.
So how did she go from like some like girl in your class to a UFC ranked fighter?
Mentally, I have no idea. Like, I don't know what is going on inside her head, but just she works harder than anybody I know.
It's interesting when you look at the desk and you look at the people who do analyst work for the UFC, they're either recently retired or some of them are still active, right? Anthony Smith was on the desk with you, still active. Dom just retired. Gil retired probably a few years ago. You're probably like the.
I'm an old head.
But so what's interesting about that is I always like to do my research before a guest comes in studio, and I was watching. You did an interview with Casuals MMA with these guys, and they do a great job. And at one point, you mentioned just sort of like in passing your fight against Kenny Florian.
Yeah.
And they were like, "You fought Kenny Florian," and that's no knock on them. Actually, funny story about that. I worked for Spike TV for 1 week, and my first like road trip was you versus Kenny Florian. I sat in the truck, and I got to watch the whole thing on how they produced the event. I sat in the back, and it was your fight against Kenny Florian in 2007, I believe it was, in September.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, crazy. But my point is, do you get a lot of people who are like, what do you know? Who are you?
Sometimes.
And does that piss you off?
No, it doesn't. It actually makes me feel good.
Why?
Because if they don't know that I fought before and I'm still in my position, then I feel as though I got in my position based on what I know, not only because I fought. So I actually take that as a compliment. Like, I'm here because I know what I'm talking about, not because I fought.
Okay.
Right. So
you don't get offended, you don't get worked up?
Nope, not at all, not one bit. But I get it all the time. Like, a lot of people don't. I go to these events and people think I'm just like Dana's buddy. They're just like, oh, the guy like that, yeah, because they're looking for a fight. Dana's homie, but yeah, that's my homie. But that's not why I got the gig. I got the gig because I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I got not because I fought, in UFC 32. You know what I'm saying?
Crazy.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I fought UFC 32. I fought, 3 guys that are in the Hall of Fame. But that's not why I'm on the gig, because I'm on the gig because I know what I'm talking about.
Looking for a fight, how did that happen?
They had another gentleman doing the show, Nick the Tooth.
Yes.
And he had it out, him and Dana and Matt, they all kind of got in like a little argument, and and he kind of left them in a bad position. Like, they were filming that weekend, and they kind of left them in a bad position, and they were like, yo, what are we going to do? Who are we going to get? And Matt called me. It was like on a Tuesday. He was like, yo, man. And in fact, I was training Amanda Nunes to fight Miesha Tate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was training Amanda to fight
for
Miesha
UFC
Tate.
200?
Yeah, for UFC 200. And I remember being in the gym, my phone rings. I see it's Matt. Man, what do you want? Crazy.
Yeah.
And then I see it again. It's a 702 number. Man, who's this? Then next thing I know, Matt sends me a text. He'll pick up the phone. I pick up the phone. They're like, hey, man, you ever seen the show Looking for a Fight? I'm like, yeah, of course. I ain't never seen it. But I was like, you know what I'm saying? I got this, man. Yeah. He's like, well, we need a guy to come and you want to give it a shot? I was like, sure. He's like, the catch is you got to leave tomorrow. Boom. Send me a ticket. Bag ready in the car. Let's go. You give me an opportunity.
Didn't think twice.
Didn't think twice.
You never seen the show?
I'd never even seen the show.
Wow.
Never even seen the show. And that was the episode we went to L.A. and did stand-up comedy at the Laugh Factory. And they were like, you got to write a set in 2 days to go out there and perform at the Laugh Factory. I was like, oh, no. Yeah, man, it was crazy.
And since then you've been on?
Since then I've been on.
It's still going on, yeah?
Still going on.
And you guys just did one where you were supposed to go to Korea.
Yeah. We were supposed to go to Korea, but they had some political stuff going on. So we ended up doing it in Tampa.
Right.
And then watching the fight from the live.
A little bit different.
Yeah, a little bit different. Right around the corner from my crib.
That's right. Yeah. Did you have Korean food? Because usually you guys will eat like the local food and all that stuff. Did you try to at least dress it up like you were in Korea?
No, we just went straight Tampa. In fact, Rory Karpf will be on the show. Actually, produces that, and I heard that the episode is really good. So can't wait.
When's that come out?
I don't know. Rory might have a better idea. But,
okay.
Those episodes are always really good. I mean, there's no one on the planet as entertaining and funny as Matt Serra. I'm convinced of that. I'm convinced that Matt Serra is the funniest guy on the planet.
Legend.
Yeah.
Legend of the game. I also saw an interview that you did with Brandon Fitzgerald where you talked about being sober.
Yeah.
And you guys had a wonderful conversation about that. Shout out to both of you for getting to this point. When you're on the road with these guys, it's people like to go out on the Friday night, on the Thursday night. Never any.
Nope. Well, see, that's my point. That's why I like being in Bristol. I don't even go out, but no, I don't drink. I'm pretty square. I don't fall to peer pressure. So yeah, man, it's pretty easy being sober, and I feel better. As you get older, you try to look for more ways to feel better.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like my little midlife crisis, except for adding things, I'm taking things out. So, you know, shrinking my circle, just taking things out just so I can be a little bit more.
Did it ever get to the point where it was like a true problem? Like, what was the breaking point for you?
No, it was never, you know, that's the thing, though. It was never really a problem either. I guess that's what everybody says, but I'm telling you, it was never a problem. Like, honestly, I don't even, and this is why it was easy for me, is because I never liked the taste of alcohol.
Oh.
In fact, I hated it. I would just do it because it was so fun being drunk.
Yeah.
Like, being drunk is a lot of fun. Like, you could do wild stuff, but I wanted to get to the point in my life where I can do wild stuff regardless of whether I was drunk or not. Like, that's really where I want to be.
Okay.
Like, if you see like some of the wild stuff I do now, I do it all on my own. Like, I don't need, and I remember doing, you know, when I would do improv comedy or whatever it is that I'm doing, let me get a couple drinks. Let me get a couple drinks. But I don't need to now. I just go out and just, I don't have a crutch. I have zero crutches. I just do what I want when I want.
So are you still doing improv?
I did an improv set actually 2 weeks ago.
Where was that?
In West Palm.
So what is it? Like, do you go through classes or something, or you just show up?
I used to, but I have a lot of friends in West Palm that still do improv, and they let me jump in and do sets with them.
So how many different things are you doing right now? you do the analyst work for UFC and ESPN, right? Yeah. You do Looking for a Fight.
Do Looking for a Fight, Sirius XM Radio.
Yep. You and Anthony, I was listening to you guys on, I think it was Thursday. It was getting deep there with Anthony.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was. Was
it right?
Yeah,
it was.
I think it was Wednesday, but
maybe
yeah,
it was Wednesday.
For Anthony, yeah, he was.
This is the best compliment that I could give anyone, and I love Anthony as well. I got home, and I stayed in the car to keep listening to you.
No
guys.
kidding.
Yeah, I was listening to you guys on Sirius XM Fight Nation because Anthony was getting deep, and you were getting deep with him. It seems like he's going through some stuff, and he was talking about therapy and all this. I thought it was a tremendous conversation.
Well, I appreciate that at his expense, actually, but yeah, he was vulnerable.
Yeah,
he
that's
opened
the word.
up. He opened up and said how he really felt about his life and what the game has kind of done to him and where he's at in his life, and that's real stuff. A lot of fighters are going through that, and I'm glad he was able to open up about that because hopefully maybe somebody else heard that and was like, you know what. And I recommended him go back to therapy.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, as a fighter or as a person who's not doing all that well, try therapy.
Did you go through that when you had to retire?
Not when I had to retire. Much later. I actually did 2 years of therapy, just life stuff, right? And just not being where you want to be or just whatever the situation may be. But I did 2 years of therapy. So I recommend
post-fighting?
it for people. Yeah, post-fighting.
Okay.
Post-fighting. Well, here's the thing, too. And I recommend fighters do it now so that it's not such a taboo thing for you. But fighters typically solve all their problems with the gym. You have a bad day, go to the gym, punch on some things. Things ain't going right in your life, go to the gym, grapple with some guys, you feel better. But it kind of masks the real problem. So if you're going to continue to fight it, you do that throughout your entire career. Then when you retire, you no longer have that. Now it's like, now what? And I think that's kind of what Anthony, his situation was. Like, he would always mask his problems with going to the gym. And he doesn't go to the gym as much anymore. So I think it's kind of weighing down on him a little bit.
So in 2013, when you left, you had no like identity crisis or anything like that? Like, it was...
A little bit, man. A little bit. It wasn't that easy. Like, going back to fighting, I didn't care about that. Like, I started doing more acting stuff and being in front of the camera. But I mean, there was definitely moments of like, man, what am I going to do now? And identity crisis stuff. And there was a time, and I've never told anybody this yet, but this actually fueled me for a lot of things that why I'm such a hustler in life now. I remember being in Vegas after I retired, and I was riding with, I can't even remember who it was, but he, on speakerphone, called Clay Guida's manager, and he was making a joke. He called Clay Guida's manager. I'm in the back seat, and he's like, yeah, Dean Thomas wants to fight Clay Guida. And his manager doesn't know I'm sitting in the back seat. And they're on speakerphone. And his manager's like, Dean Thomas, that guy's washed up.
Oh, man.
He's a bum. And I'm sitting in the back. And the guy was mortified. Like, I didn't expect that to happen. They hang up. And I'm thinking to myself, like, man, is that really what the world thinks of me? Watch.
Good for you.
Yeah, watch.
Good for you.
Yeah, so, and I think about that often, man. So, like, days when I'm like, I don't feel like getting up, I think back to that day sitting in the back of that car and Clay Guida's old manager going, Dean Thomas, that guy's washed.
Wow.
Well,
it's easy to say now when things are going great, but like in the moment, probably felt like crap.
Oh, man, I was like, crawl under a rock.
Yeah.
Like really? Well, I mean, it's just, I think no one, you think you're okay, right? But then if that's the reputation, like, man, he's washed up. They think I'm washed. This is what I've dedicated my entire life to since I was get out of high school, dedicated my entire life towards the fight game. And you think I'm washed because, yeah, I'm not going to fight, but I'm going to make my mark somehow in the fight game. And here I am.
Oh my gosh, yes, in a big way. So serious. And did I miss anything else?
And then just coaching the
fighters.
Fighters that I have.
This is enough.
That's enough.
Yes.
That's enough. Yeah. Again, I'm trying to take stuff out. I like doing serious. I like doing looking for a fight. I like working the desk shows for UFC and ESPN. Love all that stuff. And I love the fighters I work with. And I'm trying to do movies. I'm actually in the process. I did Grace Point. I have another movie out, just going through the film festival circuit called Brotherhood. Eve Edwards and Rashad Evans is in that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a short film, and then I'm in the process of writing another short film.
You're writing it?
I'm writing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here you are on the set of Grace Point with Aljo.
Look at me.
Is that James Storm in the middle?
That's James Storm.
You guys look legit.
Yeah, they thought I was homeless. Like people that were like just on set, they didn't know me. They thought I was like, what's this homeless guy doing hanging around
the actual people working?
The actual people were like, what's this homeless guy doing here on set? Yeah, I really got into character for that.
Did you enjoy it?
I love the process of acting. And it's not about being a movie star or getting these big roles. Like, again, man, I do improv for 20 people. That's not what it does it for me. It's the process. I love the process of everything. In terms of acting, creating a character, digging into that character, becoming a real person that doesn't exist that I have to create. That's for me is exciting.
It's fun. I remember you when you were a fighter. I remember BJ Penn and Kaul Uno and Kenny Florian. I was there, all that stuff. It's fun to see. Here you are with BJ.
Man, he's so weak, and then bam, he knocked me out.
That's some gnarly shit right there.
Yeah.
People don't know. People don't remember BJ.
Yeah, I know.
The new fans, they see like...
everybody's like, who's the best lightweight of all time? I'm like, BJ.
Thank you. I said this...
BJ.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
To me,
that's not taking a shot at Islam, but like when BJ in his prime, there was nothing like him.
Nothing like him. He was running over people don't know about the game back then, so it's... recency bias, but BJ in his prime during that window was unbeatable.
I thought his high point was UFC 107 against Kenny Florian in Memphis. That night, I said that's the best fighter in the world, and that was like prime Fedor. Anderson was doing his thing. GSP. When he came back to lightweight, and it was like Jens Pulver, Joe Stevenson, Sean Shirk, Kenny Florian, he was unstoppable. Remember him against Sean Shirk? He like got shot out of a cannon with the flying knee.
And he was busting those guys up, like leaving them mercilessly in the pool of their own blood.
Yes, he was incredible.
It's not even close to me, like him not being the best lightweight of all time.
What I was getting at was you're an old head, as you said, and you've been through so much. You told a story. I was watching on that pod where you said that you were arrested for putting on like a smoker fight.
Yeah.
You were put in jail for like 5 hours for that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe they actually, with the Florida cops, because you couldn't do that. You couldn't put on amateur fights in Florida. They actually went through with it. Like they didn't just give you a fine.
No, they actually went through it. It took them a couple of days actually to research it and realize that I was doing something illegal.
How did they find out?
It was a local gym, like a local... I guess competitor who was like, yo, they doing some fights over there. So the cops showed up. And as soon as they showed up, it just happened to be during this one fight where this guy got knocked out really bad. And I think they probably would have just left. But then when the dude got knocked out really bad, they were like, So they stuck around for a little bit and was like, we'll be in touch. A couple days later, I get a phone call. Dean Thomas, we coming to pick you up.
Come on.
Yeah, coming to get you.
And they put you in jail?
Put me in
For
jail.
how long?
I was in just a couple of hours.
And then what?
I bailed out, and then then I got a lawyer and attorney. Actually, my attorney actually trained with me.
Okay.
So we did a little pro bono stuff, and he knew the prosecutor who was like a martial artist from Virginia, and he was like, "Oh, that's a smoker. I know what that is." And they realized that it wasn't, nothing illegal.
Okay.
And they ended up throwing it out.
Okay. And that's in the midst of your UFC career.
Yeah, right.
I don't remember this coming out.
Yeah, no, it was right in the midst of my UFC career.
Did it make headlines?
In fact, yeah, it made headlines. In fact, I was on crutches from the Kenny Florian fight.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was right after that.
You went to jail on crutches?
No.
Okay,
but during the thing, I had gotten the crutches off, but during the smoker, I was walking around on crutches.
That's crazy.
And
did the UFC get mad at you?
No, they didn't get mad at me.
Yeah.
They didn't get mad at me. But right after that, then they legalized amateur fights in Florida. So I am a martyr.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're the trailblazer.
Yeah, I'm the trail. So all amateur fighters in Florida, you're welcome.
Was that the only time you've been to jail?
I went to jail before that too.
For other smokers?
No. Well, I hit a dude in the head with a wrench.
When
I was 18. Yeah. Well, I was 17 actually.
You hit a dude in the head with a wrench. Yeah. Why?
Over a girl.
Okay.
Yeah, you know how like when you young and females. I mean, I probably still do it today. But.
Yeah. So you were both.
Yeah, I was young and I had a female. My girlfriend, she broke up with me, started dating another guy, and I didn't like the way he was treating me. So, bink.
You went to his house?
I went to her house and he was there.
Okay. And you had the wrench on you?
Yeah. Intentionally had it on.
Yeah.
Like, yo.
And what happened to him?
If he gets slick, bop.
Damn.
And he got slick, bop. And then I went to jail for that. And I did 50 weekends in jail. What happened to him? He pressed charges, got stitches, pressed charges. I did 50 weekends in jail.
What does that mean, 50 weekends?
Show up on Friday, stay till Sunday, get out.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it because you were a minor?
No, it was because it was a first offense.
Oh, wow.
So I actually did, because what happened was, I was 17 when it happened. They put me in juvenile, and I did 21 days in juvie, and I turned 18 during that time. And as soon as I got out, they put me in real jail, adult jail. And then I got out of there, and then I got sentenced to 21 days, 50 weekends in real jail.
Is that messed up? Because like you get to feel freedom, and then you got to go right back in there every weekend.
You know what? Honestly, I attribute a lot of my MMA knowledge to that, because this was in '94, and I just remember all week. I'd watch fights, study fights, train with my boy Paul Rodriguez, who runs American Top Team in Orlando. We train during the week. On Friday, I go to jail.
Oh.
Get out on Sunday. On Monday, same thing. Training. On Friday, go to jail. So it kept me focused.
Wow.
Yeah, it kept me focused.
What kind of people were you around?
In jail?
Was it like other kids?
No. In jail is like a bunch of dirty old men in there for like DUIs and, stupid little crimes.
Yeah. 50 weeks, a whole year.
A whole year.
Damn.
Whole year, missing everything that happens on the weekend. Go to jail on Friday, be there at 6, get out Sunday at 6.
Did you get the girl back at least?
Yeah, I had my son with her.
Come on.
Yeah.
The same girl?
Same girl.
No way.
Yeah, so in the end, it was all worth it.
Wait, because of what you did?
Well, not because of what I did. It worked out that way.
Damn.
Yeah.
What a story. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah. Normally you expect like, oh yeah, she never talked to me. No, we had a son.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. How old's your son?
19.
Does he fight?
No. He's he played soccer his whole life, but now he school.
Okay.
Just going to school and hustling.
Never wanted to follow in your footsteps.
Nah. He goes to the fights though. He's a big fan of the sport, but
he didn't train or anything like that?
Not really.
You didn't want him to do it?
Not really.
Why not?
I mean, fighting is, for knuckleheads.
Yeah.
He's smart.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, we work enough for the street. He got a good right hand, good left hook, and can stop a takedown,
That's not bad.
He can stop a takedown and got a good guillotine. That's all we need in the street.
You taught him the basics.
Yeah, just enough to handle somebody in the street.
Hey there. Sorry to interrupt. Just want to remind you, if you haven't already, please do hit that subscribe button. we would appreciate it very much. And while you're at it, give us a thumbs up too. You know, we've got live shows, interviews, clips, and a whole lot more going on this here channel. All right, now back to the show. Let's bring in Rory now.
Yeah, let's bring in Rory.
Let's bring in big man Rory Karpf, the director of Grace Point. There he is. Rory, who could kick both our asses.
Slow down. What's up?
Rory the man.
Good to see you, man. These offices are awesome.
How are you?
Great.
Thank you for coming in.
We gonna
Good to see you.
share this mic?
Yeah.
No. He's wearing a mic.
Oh, you got a mic?
Yeah. So you bring yours towards you.
These offices are impressive.
You like that?
You've come a long way since. I remember I interviewed you for I Hate Christian Leitner
That's
at
right.
your old
yes,
offices.
from the old one. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
very
This man
old
gave me my break. Do you know that, Dean?
Did he?
He gave me my break. He asked me to be in one of his 30 for 30 documentaries, and people still bring it up to this day
No kidding.
about Christian
Rory,
Leitner.
Rory is a G, man. Like Rory has been helpful to a lot of people.
Yes.
And I love it.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you. I wanted to cast Dean for a long time, but I kept getting calls from Clay Guida's manager telling me he's why. Yeah, that guy has it in for you, man. And so,
Yeah.
Look at Rory, man. You're looking fit.
oh, thanks, Dean.
Jeez Louise.
You know, I was disappointed when you said your greatest coaching accomplishment was Julian Robertson, because Dean trained me for a fight.
That's
and right. When I would send him my videos, he would just like send back these emojis. Like, yeah. So you said,
There you were.
oh yeah, there I am.
Him.
Look at that.
The gloves are on the wrong hand.
This was what, 2021, right?
Yes, 2021. It was right after we shot the movie, and I remember when I was walking out, Dana yelled, "Throw in the towel." So
He was there. He came to it. Did they?
he was watching on the phone. I
Okay,
think.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
He had just landed. We were actually, so I did that fight.
Yeah.
And then I changed my clothes and produced Looking for a Fight. That was a Looking for a Fight card.
I remember.
Yeah, and I remember my pep talk from Dean was, you might go out there and your face may get rearranged. You might come out looking different than when you went in. And
But just don't embarrass me.
Yeah.
true. It's
But
true.
were you? There he is. I won. Never give up on yourself or your dreams. Thank you, Sly Stallone, for writing Rocky, and thank you to Dean Thomas, Sean Carrigan, and Jared Gordon for training me. I'm now ready to retire undefeated at 1-0. Did you ever have another?
No, I never had another. Yeah, I mean, to me, that was like a bucket list for like my life, because I'd worked with, the UFC for a number of years, and I just always wanted to feel what it was like to take that walk just once in my life. And it actually started in Abu Dhabi just to kill time. Dean would let me hit pads and started training me. And he was training me in like Dana's private gym. And one time, Dana opened the door and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, Dean. I didn't realize you were working with a fighter. I'm sorry." And then he kept the joke going. Like I was trying to, I think I was trying to mic him or something, or trying to convince him. And he's like, "Man, just relax. You need to sit back and watch these fights. There's some potential opponents for you here." So, I just like, part of me was like, man, I'm gonna kind of like Clay Guida's manager.
Yeah.
The first round did not go well at all. In fact, I thought they stopped the fight.
I know.
Really?
I took quite a beating.
I don't remember that.
I think I was mildly concussed, and I remember sitting down and Jared Gordon, who was in my corner, said, "How are you feeling?" And I said, "Not good." And Dean was like, "You're doing great." And he was so convincing of it. I was like, well, maybe I'm just wrong. Like, maybe I am doing great.
I had to lie to him to get him back into the fight.
Yeah. That's a fascinating thing, because we saw that on Saturday with Eric Nixick, where Nixick's like, essentially, you're not doing great to Sean Strickland. So I guess you have to know who you're talking to,
Yeah, you gotta
right?
know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Like for him, like he's down. I'm like, come on, man, you're doing great.
Yeah.
Stay in it.
Yeah.
He's like, really? I am? Go. Yeah.
Well,
No.
and he gave me advice, because we were fighting a southpaw who was actually trained by Bilal Muhammad, and he said, lead with the right. Don't lead with your left. So I led with the right, and somehow pulled out a miracle.
Amazing. How was he, by the way, he told the story about Nick the Tooth couldn't make it, and so they called him up. How was when he came on, were you like, oh man, we're cooked here, or is this a blessing in disguise?
Man, I was just happy we were doing the show, but Dean wasn't that gregarious when I called him up. He was like
messing with him.
Yeah, he was like, "What do you want?" And I'm like, "I'm the producer looking for a fight," and I was kind of giving him the rundown and whatnot. But man, it was just like kind of natural chemistry. And what's great about Dean, and this is why he got on the show, is he's game for anything. I remember we shot a new open. I was like, hey, Dean, what do you think about like jumping in the dumpster and then peeking open? And he was like, before I could even finish a sentence, he was in the dumpster.
Wow.
So he's down to do anything. And, that's why I wanted to cast him in the movie. I put you in Shaq Life. Remember, you trained Shaq.
Oh, right, that's right.
He trained Shaq for a little jiu-jitsu match against Greg Hardy, which I believe he won.
Yeah.
And Dean just seizes on an opportunity. He doesn't ask questions or whatnot, and he just makes like a person like me who's behind the scenes, my job so much easier.
So obviously I know you from the 30 for 30s. You did the CM Punk series prior to his debut, Looking for a Fight, a ton of other sports-related docs. Now you make a film, a scripted film. Yeah. First one?
First scripted film, yes.
Grace Point, which just came out. By the way, Rotten Tomatoes, what are you at, like 93% or something like that?
93% audience score.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, it's
that's great.
The audience likes it. It's very difficult to get Rotten Tomato approved critics to review the film. Just to review it, not forget about a good review.
Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe the number of theaters it's out or whatnot. I mean, it's a small indie film. And we're on Amazon and Apple right now, but I'm just trying to plead with people. Just watch it.
Yeah.
You don't have to like it. Just give it a chance.
This is the trailer right here.
This is the trailer.
I saw it. I watched it this weekend, and I sent it to a friend of mine as well. It's intense stuff. You called it a thriller. It is a thriller. There's Aljo right there. I was really impressed with Dean. I think that was Dean right there.
Yeah.
I guess because I know you and like you were telling me about why you wanted to do it, I kept thinking like how hard it must have been to make this. Just like a documentary, you're sitting down, you're interviewing people, you get footage. This is a whole other beast, right?
It was incredible. It was one of the best experiences of my entire life, not just my career, because it's something that kind of like the fight I've always dreamed of. I've always wanted to do it. And, almost like, use you as an example, you probably could have stayed at ESPN and taken a certain path, and that's the comfortable path. But I like going towards the uncomfortable. And I could just keep doing sports and everything, but I always wanted to do a scripted film. That's been a dream of mine. And just the whole process of like collaborating with the actors. We had great actors in the film.
I was about to say, like, I think that made it easier too. Like to have the actors like Jim Parrick and Sean Carrigan.
Yeah.
Just really good guys to be around.
Yeah, and Jim Parrick, who played Cutter in the film, he said he listens to you every single day.
Really? Wow.
He gave me a call. He was, out of everything I've ever done, he's the most impressed that I'm on your show.
Wow.
So,
thank you. I appreciate that.
He's a big fan.
Rob Lowe's son.
Rob Lowe's son stars. Andrew McCarthy plays his father, so there's a little Brat Pack reunion. And it's a coming-of-age thriller. It is a coming-of-age story. It's about a kid on his way to a rehab for drugs. And along the way, his father gets hurt, and now he kind of has to become the hero while he's detoxing from drugs and facing his demons. So, everything I do, I like to put a lot of heart into it. Even like Shaq Life or shows that maybe on the surface seem goofy, there's always some kind of sentimental moments or something that's heartfelt. So I tried to do that, the same with Grace Point. I don't know what you thought of it.
Yeah, it's funny. He sent me the link and I watched it and he said, you can watch it with your family. So I have two boys, 12 and 10. I'm like, guys, my friend made this. Let's watch this. First 5 minutes, the kid goes in the bathroom and he starts doing coke. And I'm like, they're like, what is that? I'm like, thanks, Rory. I appreciate it.
That's the only thing.
Yeah. No, but it was fine. It was totally fine. It was really good and very proud of you. I mean, again, very and impressed with these guys. Like, I know that it's hard for a fighter, for an athlete. How do you come about picking a Dean, or obviously you have the relationship of putting Aljo, putting him in there, James, like how do you say, okay, like these guys, even though they're not known for this, would be good for these roles?
Life's just about relationships. You know that too. And just spending time with Dean, I know no matter what it is, if you told Dean Thomas, like, hey, I want you to design a building for an architecture firm, he might start out saying, I don't know how to do it, but he's going to find out how to do it eventually. And that's how he was with acting. He was taking these acting classes. He took it so seriously. If you look at Dean in the months leading up to filming the movie, you can slowly but surely in the studio at ESPN see him getting more and more disheveled looking. He was growing out his hair, his beard. He gained weight for the role. He just took it really seriously. Same with Aljamain was telling me that he was like a background extra on like Law and Order, and that he wanted to do acting. You know how charismatic Aljamain is. And I did a short film about him.
I remember.
For the UFC, and we kind of just connected. I said, hey, this is a smaller role. You have a few lines. What do you think? He's like, I'm game. So I like giving people opportunities because I've needed opportunities. Dana gave me an opportunity. And so I try to kind of pay it forward.
What's he like as a director?
He's very easy to work with. He's an actor's director where he allows you the freedom to try things. And that's what you want as an actor, is like some freedom to try things. I don't want somebody to read the line for me, because if just do it yourself then, but he gives you a lot of freedom as an actor to experiment with stuff, and it was great. And again, I worked with him with a lot. And not only does he give you the freedom, but he also pushes you into doing things. And at times it may seem uncomfortable, but I always have to remind myself that when it does work, it's going to be memorable. For as uncomfortable as it feels right now, it's going to be memorable. So just do it. And you got to do it.
Do you think he should pursue this?
100%. In fact, the gentleman I just mentioned, Jim Parrick, says that he thought Dean was one of the better actors he's worked with.
Wow.
This is a guy that's been on HBO True Blood. He was a lead cast member, Fast and the Furious 9. He's telling Dean to get more and more reps. In fact, to me, the biggest compliment for the film is I sent it to Matt Serra.
Yeah.
And in the past, Dean has sent some of his other work to Matt. And Matt can be a little critical. He doesn't hold back on his opinion. And when we were filming Looking for a Fight, he was like, Rory, this is good. Like shocked. He's like, I'm really surprised. He was telling me he was really into it. Then he connected me with his producer. He has a podcast to get on his show. So he was very complimentary about it, and he wouldn't hold back. If he thought it sucked, he would love to bust balls about it.
Yeah, he's looking for a reason.
Yeah.
Why did you put him in the film?
Matt?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's directable.
Matt is not direct. Well, and that's always I tell people about Matt Serra. Whenever I do work with Matt, I go just point, give him a 5-hour energy, and just get out of the way.
We did this scene for the last Looking for a Fight where Matt and Dean do yoga with goats. Like they actually,
for real.
I had never
real
even
goats.
heard this before.
Real
goats. And you're right about Matt. You just put him in the situation and make sure the cameras are rolling. It's maybe, in my opinion, the funniest scene we've ever filmed on Looking for a Fight. I was editing it, laughing while I was editing it.
Do the goats actually do yoga too?
They just kind of climb on you?
They jump on you and just
They ram you with their head.
Yeah, while you're doing yoga, they're like ramming you and like crawling in between your legs and jumping on you.
But this is like a business you can go to.
Yeah.
Where people do this.
Yeah.
Where's this, in Tampa?
It was in Tampa. But I heard it's a lot of them. It's a lot of places. Like
Really?
that. Yeah.
I've never heard of that. So you come up with like the stunts?
Yeah, me and my team. I have a production team, and then we get Dana's approval for it, and but these guys are the ones that kind of make it come to life.
Yeah. And when does that come out? The Tampa one?
I'm not sure. A lot of it revolves around when the fighters they pick are going to make their debut, and in previous episodes it's been around the Contender Series. But I think these guys are going right into the UFC. And there was one fight in particular, I don't know if you remember that guy from the press conference who asked Dana for a shot.
That's right. He fought on that card.
Yeah,
yes.
he fought on that card.
Lost.
He lost, and I don't want to give anything away, but Dana was impressed with his opponent.
Damn. What a swerve.
Yeah.
What a swerve.
But again, shows you about opportunity.
Sure. Yeah, I remember him saying afterwards that apparently he was like a bit of a headache to deal with. Dana said this at the press conference when he was talking about the Looking for a Fight that they had to film in Tampa, right? Because there was some unrest in Korea. You guys must have been upset that you didn't go to Korea, right?
I was a bit upset because I really like Korea.
Yeah.
Like Korea is a fun place. They got dope music, you know what I'm saying? Dope culture. But Tampa, I mean, Tampa's Tampa. You know, it's around the corner from me, so.
I just like making good content.
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to go, because I think I'm just always amazed that we still get to do the show. I love doing the show. I love working with these guys.
I can't believe it's been, how long? It's been over 10 years, right?
Yeah, it's been over 10 years, and it's, the first thing I ever did for the UFC was the CM Punk series. But that came to fruition because I did a series with Snoop Dogg. That's how I got my, for years I was trying to get in with the UFC. I even applied for a job with the UFC.
Really?
Like back in early days, 2007. And just couldn't hear back. I had a meeting with Craig. It didn't really go anywhere years later. And then finally, I was doing this show called Snoop and Son, where Snoop Dogg's son played football at Bishop Gorman High School.
I remember, yes.
And his teammate was Nico Fertitta. So I recognized Lorenzo Fertitta at spring training camps, just on the sidelines. So I approached him, and I showed him in my book bag, I had UFC DVDs. Like I had the best of George St. Pierre. I'm like, look, I'm a fan. And then we mic'd his son during practice. And I think I gave the footage to Lorenzo, and he was super appreciative. And it sounds crazy, but he didn't really get recognized or much. So, and then I kind of convinced Snoop's son to go to a UFC event. I'm like, it'll be good for the show. You'll go with Nico, and it was Conor versus Poirier 1.
Okay,
yeah,
2014.
Yeah.
UFC 178.
Wow. And this was
How do you remember that?
I don't know.
You just remember that?
You know, it was the main event. Demetrius Johnson against Chris Carriaso.
Yeah, wow.
This was
Weird
kind of
shit.
like almost, I don't want to say the birth of Conor, but where he was like kind of ascending to that.
Yeah,
other
yeah.
That
level.
was when we realized he
white
was
suit.
legit.
Yeah.
And I always remember this. I was kind of in the back waiting where like the media waits. And one of the guys said to me, like, what are you doing here? And I said, oh, we're filming this event. I'm just waiting to go to Mr. Fertitta's like private room. And the guy kind of like laughed at me. He's like, oh, like, yeah, you're not going there. Like, you're gonna be here with us. And they had this like, you know, like a kind of paltry spread for them. And then this guy comes back and says, hey, Lorenzo's ready for you now. Let's go back. And I was like, all right, I'll see you later.
Felt great.
And we went back there, and I'll always remember this. There was a Make-A-Wish kid in the back, and Dana asked Conor to come. And this was like one fight before he was about to go out. He was like in his trunks, in his gloves, and he was so relaxed.
Wow.
He was like, oh, hello, it's good to meet you. And he told the kid what he was gonna do. He's like, I'm gonna give him one of these. And he did exactly what he said he was gonna do. We didn't film it, I just like kind of witnessed it.
Wow.
So I was like, wow. And I remember Lorenzo saying, yeah, he's gonna be our next big star.
The old Conor.
That was the old Conor.
Yeah.
But I saw Dana back there, and I just said, hey man, I'd love to work with you guys if I could ever do anything. And he's like, yeah, call Borsari, definitely. And then I got Borsari's email, and I pitched them. I was like, hey, CM Punk, what do you think? Let's follow him. This is going to be epic. You know, a guy going from pro wrestling, and he was like, let's do it. And I was just off to the races. And then looking for a fight was totally Dana's idea. And he was like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? I mean, like, man, I'll be interested in watching you shovel snow from your driveway. Whatever you want to do, I'm down to do.
And so now, is it like twice a year? Three times a year?
Yeah, once to twice a year.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we used to do like 6 episodes a season the first couple of years.
Yeah.
But you know, Dana's just so busy. He's kind of ascended to like a whole other level. You know,
Now he's hanging out with the president.
all the time.
Has he been on? Have there been any cameos on Air Force One? Have you guys been on Air Force One?
That would be a great episode.
Yeah,
if
we could do that.
Washington D.C.
Yeah.
We go to the White House.
Yeah.
Ride on Air Force One.
I don't feel like you're that far away from this happening.
That would be awesome. I would definitely be down for that episode.
Yeah, of course. Let's make that happen.
Are you going to make more movies, more scripted movies?
I want to, Ariel. I really, really want to. You know, the way this movie happened is I got a scripted agent when I made this film called The Book of Manning. I had an agent. And
Oh, yeah.
He said, what do you want to do? I said, it's my dream to make a scripted movie. And there was a script. It was like the beginnings of Grace Point, but it was like a $25 million movie. And like a lot of things in Hollywood, it kind of just gestated for a while, didn't really happen, and kind of just went away. And then I decided years later to just get the money myself, and we made it for like $500 grand.
That's
So,
insane.
you know, sometimes you just have to figure out a way.
500 grand is nuts for a movie.
Yeah, I saw a quote and it said that river doesn't go through rocks by power, it does it through persistence. And I feel like that's my story in life. So I definitely want to make another movie for sure. But right now I just hope people see Grace Point, give it a chance. I was telling Dean, I didn't realize this. I thought like, oh, you know, we'll cast some UFC guys, it'll be great. Then Dean's like, you know, you should check out some of the films of some other former UFC guys. That they've been in. They're not necessarily the highest quality productions, but you know, these guys, it's not a fight film, and you know, Weidman even has a role in it.
Yeah.
I cut out his speaking part, but he'll
never forgive you for that neither.
He still
Get an
appears.
IMDb credit?
He does have an IMDb
perfect,
credit, and he
perfect.
brought his sons to a showing of it that we had in Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I just hope people give it a chance. It's on Apple and Amazon, and it would mean a lot. And man, yeah, just give it a shot. If you like it, leave a review. If you don't like it, keep quiet. Nobody asked.
Yeah. Leave your opinions to yourself. Amazon and Apple, I think.
Amazon and Apple, yeah, either one. That's the best place to see it. Grace Point, and our IG is Grace Point Film, so we post on there every day. And yeah, man, I'm really, out of everything I've ever done in my career, it's probably the thing I'm most proud of.
Wow, and you've done some stuff.
I have. I've been really fortunate to get to do some cool projects, work with, the I Hate Christian Laettner. I did a Ric Flair doc, the Manning, Shaq, stuff with the UFC. But this one, it was just nonstop persistence, like being a force of will just to get this done. And it was in production for 4 years. We filmed it in like 2021.
Wow.
So it took a while. I'm just happy that it's out and that people can see it.
Dean, can I ask you, as we wrap up, we were talking about Zhang Weili versus Valentina Shevchenko, wanting to see that fight more than anything. Who would you say wins that fight if it happens this year?
I think if it happens sooner rather than later, while Weili's confidence is high, she wins that fight.
Wow.
If you let her marinate for a little too long, I think she starts to lose her confidence. She might not be able to beat Valentina.
The problem is I want to see it so bad, but you have Manon Fiorot there. Not really fair to her to skip her over.
I don't know what the problem is, why they haven't made that fight already.
Right.
But the fact that they haven't made it already, let's just forget about that.
What?
Let's put Weili in there.
Okay,
I know, I
not
get it,
necessarily Manon's fault, because remember, the Grasso fight was in September. Manon fought against Blanchfield in March. She had to wait for that fight to be finished. I don't know if it's her fault.
I know.
Maybe some
might
step
not be,
aside,
it might
maybe
not
some
be,
step aside money.
Yeah,
You know
it
what I'm
might not
talking
be
about?
her fault. It might not be her fault. If it's not her fault, you gotta do it.
Yeah.
But if it's her fault, too bad.
Oh, it's a gigantic fight.
Yeah.
I just don't want to advocate for anyone to lose their dream.
No, I get that. I mean, and Manon did everything they asked of her to do. But if it's her fault, why it's taking so long?
Yeah.
You lose it. You snooze, you lose.
Hey, this guy's great.
Can I ask him a question?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Do you think Amanda's going to ever come back?
At this point, no. I think that her window of coming back passed.
Really?
Yeah.
Even if Kayla wins?
I don't know. I can't see it happening. It depends. Now, if Kayla wins and starts yapping, starts talking, she's coming back.
Do you think if Juliana wins, she comes back? No. Nothing to prove?
Nothing to prove. But if Kayla wins and she starts talking, then I think Amanda comes back.
Were you there when they trained together?
Uh-huh.
What'd you see? I mean, this is early Kayla, right?
But they didn't really train together all that much.
Okay.
They didn't train together all that much. But I will say this though, about a few months to a year ago, Amanda did call me, say, "Hey, I want to start training again."
Oh wow.
Yeah. So
would you consider that? She's no longer ATT.
Yeah, I would consider that.
Wow.
And like I said, I'm very selective of who I train, but Amanda was one of the ones that I've always enjoyed working with.
So despite that, you still think the window's closed?
Yeah. It takes a certain level of just hunger and motivation to be at that level consistently. And it's easy to say it now when you're not training. It's easy to look at fighters and sit at the couch and be like, oh, I'm going to come back. But 3 weeks into a training camp, dieting, the process, it's just not.
We filmed at her house.
We
filmed we did a show called The Dean Diaries.
Oh yeah, I remember
that.
Yeah.
And we went to, and she just seemed to have a great life.
Yeah.
She seems very happy. Couple kids and
it's hard to go from that to going, all right, let's strip you of that. We're going to take you away from your kids for a couple of weeks, and it's probably not worth it to her unless Kayla starts yapping.
Right.
Then she's got something to prove, and I can see her saying, you know what, Nina, handle this for a little bit. I got business to take care of.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you. By the way, are you guys Eagles fans?
I'm an Eagles.
Both of you guys?
Philadelphia.
My family. I'll be hanging out in Philly, so.
Congrats.
You seem disappointed.
I'm jealous. I'm a Bills fan. There you are, Rory, from back in the day. When was that?
That was at the Super Bowl. We went to.
Did you guys win that one?
Yeah, we did. It's when they played the Patriots. That's with my cousin. We went in Minneapolis.
Oh yeah, because you also played the Patriots like back in the day in Jacksonville. I remember T.O. was on.
That's right.
You guys.
That was the Donovan McNabb.
Yeah.
This was just a few years ago. That was the Nick Foles Super Bowl.
Philly
but I gotta
special.
say, man, Ariel, for me, this is like being on the Tonight Show. I mean it. This is like a dream come true, and like you're the peak interviewer, I think, in MMA. And people forget, like you were talking about how people forgot about Dean. People forget about you. Like when I first started getting the UFC, you were still around. You were on like the original internet shows, like doing interviews in the back. So, man, you've earned everything.
Thank you.
For sure, you've been around as long as I have. So
I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Just don't tell that to Dana, okay? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's all good jokes. It's all laughing jokes. Guys, thank you so much. Congratulations. Congratulations on the film. I urge everyone to check it out. Amazon, Apple. Congratulations to you on everything you're doing. You're doing incredible stuff, and looking forward to more from both of you. So thank you for coming. I know you had to stay an extra day or two here on the East Coast, but I appreciate it.
Appreciate you, my man.
Thanks for watching this video. Before you go, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button for us. Also, give us a thumbs up, leave a nice comment. These things go a long way. And while you're here, do check out the rest of the channel. We've got live shows and full interviews, clips, and a whole lot more. We're doing big things here, and we appreciate your support very much.